Hello, my friends. Today I'm going to be going through how I humanize AI. I'm on a mission to figure out how to write with AI, to think with AI, and to get AI to think more like myself and be more expressive and just feel more human. So I'm on a mission to do that. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go, but we're going to learn together and I'll share the process as I go. All right, so this is a project that yesterday I got more specific with this prompting, and then I just had this idea over the night. So basically, just to show you my process of how I work with AI and think with AI, this is one way that I do it. I got this whisper flow here. So I'll pull up whisper flow, and then I'll just start to talk. So I say, improve this prompt for clarity. Do not perform the prompt, just rewrite it. And that is in my trusty PromptCraft 2.0 GPT. And this is what I said in the whisper flow. Take this deep research report on humanizing AI and take each argument that this report discusses. First, analyze the report and then do some research on providing examples of actual famous authors and literary people that give examples. I want 3 examples of their work, like quotes, and explaining why the quote fits that argument of the report. You could also use quotes of other authors and how they think or what they talk about as an example. It doesn't have to be necessarily a quote from one of their books or novels, but it can be a quote that they actually said about writing and literary items. So provide 3 examples for each argument in this report on how to humanize AI writing and what to do and what not to do, strategies and tactics from 3 different famous literary artists and authors. It's also very important to write exactly where that came from, where the quotation came from, what publication it came from, what book it came from, or where they said it. So provide the name of the author, where it comes from, and the date if possible. This is what it rewrote from rewriting that prompt for clarification. In this last one, I just changed the name of the report, so it's not just a generic report, to making AI writing feel human. Research and synthesis, that's the name of the report that we'll be using for this prompt. So here is the prompt, and you can see it's much better. I'll just read quickly an example. Here's one way, instead of reading it, I could just use Speechify. So here's Speechify reading it to me.
Take the research report titled Making AI Writing Feel Human, a research synthesis, and do the following. Do not summarize the report in general. Instead, work argument by argument. Analyze the report's arguments. Identify each distinct argument the report makes about how to humanize AI writing, including both what to do, effective strategies and tactics, what not to do, pitfalls, mistakes, or dehumanizing patterns. Find literary examples for each argument. For each argument, research and select 3 different famous authors or literary figures. For each person, provide 1 relevant quotation from their fiction, poetry, essays, interviews, talks, or other commentary on writing and literature. A brief explanation of why that quotation illustrates, supports, or challenges that specific argument about humanizing AI writing.
I just want to give you guys an example of how that works. So I cut and paste this prompt here into another window. So I'm using ChatGPT, Gemini, Google's Gemini, Perplexity, and Claude to do this deep research prompt and see what I get. You don't have to go crazy like that. Pick your favorite. And I suggest a paid plan, almost always better, especially when you're doing deep research. So I cut and paste that prompt right here. And then I add this document right here. This document is in my downloads. I'll show you what this document is. This is from a few days ago. I did some deep research on how to humanize AI. I did that on ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and Claude. My favorite output was between Gemini and Claude. Claude was a little bit more succinct, so I'm using that one. They were all amazing reports. And a lot of them said very similar things. Gemini's was much more verbose and almost twice as long. This is the report that it wrote. So I just cut and pasted that from Claude, and this is the report. It's 8 pages long, not including any of the references. So that was really good. So that's what it's going to be analyzing, this report, and finding quotations from literary artists, authors about each point of that this report makes. So let's take a look at what this did here. This is ChatGPT's work based on that prompt and that report. Okay, we're not going to go all the way through this, but this is what it output here, okay? And then this is Gemini. Let's see if Gemini finished. Gemini's is still thinking. Gemini usually takes a long time. They do an incredible job with their deep research report, but you could see these are all the resources that it's referencing here. All right, that's a lot. That's good. And this is really an agent. I mean, it's a deep research agent that I'm doing, and you have to specify to do the deep research. That's what this little symbol is here. And then it creates a whole plan, and then it asks you if that plan works, and then you start the research. So, I mean, look at that. That's just incredible. So anyway, this is going to be a very detailed report. Can't wait to read that. Let's see if Perplexity finished. Yeah, Perplexity has theirs finished. And let's see if Claude finished their report. Something went wrong. So let me retry and see what happens here. That happens sometimes. So anyway, I'm going to show you the process though that I have. This is a way for me to learn anything really quickly. So this is something I wanted to learn. And I made 4 different reports here from Chat, from Gemini, from Perplexity, and Claude. And then I'm going to compile those all into one single document over here. I'm going to cut and paste that into Speechify so I can listen to it, go for a walk and listen to that report. And that's just my workflow. I like to walk and listen, and essentially I create my own podcast about the deep research reports that I do and then take it from there. So I'm going to take all this information here. Essentially what I want to do is take this report here and I'm going to rewrite this in my own words and humanize it. So I'm learning how to humanize the AI writing and then take that information from humanizing AI writing, create a prompt or a custom GPT to put this report in there and then have it write it again, humanizing it. Now, I'm not taking credit for writing that. I'm writing with AI. I'm learning how to write with AI. And then I'll interject my own, like that final output will be whatever it spits out, thoughts, perspectives, and philosophies. And then the output of that will be my co-writing with AI. And that's what I'm learning how to do here is be a co-writer with AI, a co-thinker. And it's not just for writing though. The same philosophies that I'm using, that I'm learning how to prompt for AI to sound more human when it writes, will also be what I use for creating voice agents to interact with myself and other humans. And the reason for that is since we're working with AI and anyway, right? I mean, people that are like myself, why not create an experience that feels more authentic, more human? I'm not trying to replace humans at all, but I'm trying to prompt AI to make a more human-like experience because it's more interesting. When I'm just interacting with these models, there's something bland about them. And I just want to make it just more interesting and almost like it has its own personality, like it's pushing back on me. It just makes it more intriguing and interesting. Might as well, if we're using this technology, make it work for us. So that's what I'm working on right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you what I do here. I kind of explained it, but this is Chat's response based on that prompt right here. Analyze this and then come up with 3 quotes from authors for each of the arguments. And we could look at one example. So let's see. I'll just give you an example, right?
I can't see the full body of your report beyond the excerpts I pulled from the uploaded file, but those excerpts do include the core claims and the actionable synthesis section. I'm going to treat those as the report's distinct arguments about humanizing AI writing and cover each one explicitly. Making AI writing feel human. Argument 1. Human writing is variable. AI writing is too predictable and uniform. Argument summary. The report argues that AI prose feels artificial mainly because it is statistically smooth and structurally uniform.
All right. So where we left off here, I was having Chat read this prompt to you guys here. So let's go take a listen here. This is with Speechify.
Quotes aloud. The quote may come from a book, short story, poem, essay, or other literary work, or
Let me start that from the beginning.
take the research report titled Making AI Writing Feel Human, a research synthesis, and do the following. Do not summarize the report in general. Instead, work argument by argument. Analyze the report's arguments. Identify each distinct argument the report makes about how to humanize AI writing, including both what to do, effective strategies and tactics, what not to do, pitfalls, mistakes, or dehumanizing patterns. Find literary examples for each argument. For each argument, research and select 3 different famous authors or literary figures. For each person, provide 1 relevant quotation from their fiction, poetry, essays, interviews, talks, or other commentary on writing and literature. A brief explanation of why that quotation illustrates, supports, or challenges that specific argument about humanizing AI writing. Type of quotes allowed. The quote may come from a book, short story, poem, essay, or other literary work, or a statement the author made about writing, creativity, or literature, for example, from an interview, lecture, article, or letter. Citation requirements. For every quotation, provide author's full name, exact source.
Okay, so take this entire prompt right here that we created in my trusty Prompt Craft 2.0, which I use all the time. This is part of my workflow that I use pretty much every day. And I paste it into this guy right here. So I paste it, and then I also upload the document, which is making AI write and feel human. That is the document that I wrote with Claude yesterday, which is actually right here. So this is the report from the deep research that I did with Claude about how to humanize AI, like what the best practices are based on all the research. I gave it a very clear prompt on doing that deep research. I put that into Claude, I put it into ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. They were all good. Gemini's was very thorough and really good. Claude's was more succinct, about half the number of pages. So I went with that one here because it was my favorite of all the 4 deep research reports on humanizing AI. All right, so now I'm going to take this here, and I'm trying to, my whole goal with this is I want to actually rewrite this in my own words or humanize it and put my own perspectives into it, put my own ideas and angles and thoughts into this article, this research report, and that'll be my final output. But today what I'm doing is I'm taking the ideas from this and I'm finding concrete examples from other authors and literary artists on some of their quotes, either from their writing or things that they have said in writing or in speech about writing as it pertains to the arguments from this report. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm at the best of those examples, rewriting those into this report, and then I'll take that report and humanize it and put in my own ideas and perspectives. And then that will be the final product of this report that I wrote with AI that has my own personality, perspectives, and guidance in it. So I'm really learning how to write, be a co-author with AI. I'm not trying to take credit where it's doing the work, but I am trying to write with it because I think it's interesting. I'm open to hear everyone's perspectives because I know there's a lot of different ideas out there on if we should be letting AI write for us, thinking for us, creating content for us, and what that actually looks like for artists and for humanity. I think that's very interesting. I do think that we should not be letting AI create for us, but creating with us, I think that's a fascinating idea, and that's what I'm working on right here. Okay, so this is the article that I'm using. This is the deep research report that I'm using to analyze in this prompt. So that I downloaded right here, that's this document here, and then I uploaded that into this chat box, and that's making AI writing human. So that's what it's analyzing and performing this prompt on. Okay, now this is the output of it. All right, so I'm going to cut and paste this and put it in this document over here. But before that, let's see if Google has finished their deep research report. Yes, looks like they got it right here. So I just go to share and export to docs, and it's going to create a document for me that I'll copy and paste. Looks like Perplexity has theirs here, and let's see if Claude is finished. Claude is having issues, it looks like. I might just redo this with Claude. Let me show you live how we do this. So I'll take the prompt, cut and paste that. I'm going to just start over. So new chat, paste it in there. And then I'm going to add this document, upload the file, making writing feel human. Okay. And it's important. You don't necessarily need to do this, but for this purpose, it's very important because I want it to do some research. I want it to actually go and perform research. So I'm going to turn on the research here. Each of these LLMs has their own form of research. Sometimes you just need to tell it in the prompt, but if you want to do like a deeper research, then you need to actually click this here. So research, that button's on, and hit go. All right, so that's going to do its thing. But let me show you my process of how I take the output of these LLMs after they perform the prompt and what I do with it next. So this is ChatGPT's report right here. So I'm going to just cut and paste this. Let's start here. And I already did it here so you can see. I cut and pasted that. That's from chat. I just write from chat and then I cut, paste it. All right. And then I do the same thing with, I'll take Google's, and I'll cut and paste this one too. This will be a standalone one here, so this is the report from Gemini, and it's usually, Gemini produces the longest reports. You can see this one is 23 pages, so I'm going to actually let this one stand alone here, and select all, Command C. I'm going to open up another Speechify. Okay, so you can see this is my Speechify. I'm going to, actually before I add this text here and show you, just give you an idea. Every day I do some type of deep research on something, and then I make a document out of it and then listen to it in Speechify. You can upload podcasts, you can create podcasts, you can add text, you can add links. This is a great way to learn if you're an auditory learner or you don't have enough time to sit down and read, or you want to listen to something when you're out walking. So I can put my headphones in, go for a walk, listen to my deep research report, and that's essentially what I do. Or if I'm driving or doing errands, I might as well be listening to a podcast. I essentially create my own podcast right here. So this is a great way to learn efficiently. I'm high on Learner for Clifton Strengths. If anyone else is, then this is a great way. I just shown my workflow here. So let's go ahead and finish this text. This is Gemini's deep research report. So Command V, and then I'm going to just type in, actually I'll go to the top, see what it's titled, and put that as the title here.
Making AI writing feel human, a research synthesis.
So let's take a listen.
1. Introduction. The algorithmic uncanny valley. The rapid evolution of large language models has precipitated a fundamental shift in the landscape of textual production. We have moved beyond the initial novelty of machine generation into a more nuanced phase, where the utility of AI is weighed against its stylistic limitations. The research synthesis titled Making AI Writing Feel Human presents a comprehensive taxonomy of the linguistic, rhetorical, and statistical markers that distinguish algorithmic output from human composition. At the heart of this distinction lies a paradox. LLMs are trained on the sum total of human digital expression, yet their output often feels 2.1. Technical analysis and operational strategy. The most quantifiable metric distinguishing AI from human text is perplexity, defined as a measurement of how predictable a sequence of words is. In the context of LLMs, perplexity represents the model's surprise at seeing a specific word given the preceding context. Because language models are trained to minimize the loss function, essentially trying to be as correct as possible in their predictions, they gravitate toward the most probable next token. This optimization results in text that is statistically smooth, but often banal. The research indicates a stark divergence in perplexity scores. AI-generated text typically exhibits a median perplexity of 7.2, whereas human text sits significantly higher at a median of 15.0. This gap quantifies the safety of AI writing. Probability function, meaning it consistently chooses words that stabilize the sentence rather than disrupt.
So literary examples of high perplexity. Okay, let's start here.
2.2 literary exemplars of high perplexity. The following authors demonstrate the power of high perplexity writing. They consistently choose the improbable word, creating prose that vibrates with specific meaning rather than statistical average. Exemplar 1, Vladimir Nabokov. Author, Vladimir Nabokov. Quote, the sullen murmur of the bees shouldering their way through the long, unmown grass, or circling with monotonous insistence round the dusty gilt horns of the straggling woodbine, seem to make the stillness more oppressive. Source, Lolita, Olympia Press, Paris, 1955. Explanation. This passage is a masterclass in defying probabilistic prediction, a concept central to the research on perplexity. If a language model were predicting the next token after the phrase murmur of the bees, the highest probability completions would likely be flying, buzzing, or moving. Nabokov, however, selects shouldering. This anthropomorphic verb selection imposes a human physical action onto an insect, creating a vivid image of density and resistance that flying fails to capture. Furthermore, the description of the woodbine flowers as dusty gilt horns represents a spike in perplexity. Gilt. And horns are not statistically associated with woodbine in the vast corpus of general training data, in the same way red or petals might be. By combining these unexpected terms, Nabokov engages in the foregrounding described in the research, deviating from the norm to heighten the reader's sensory awareness. An AI attempting to be smooth would likely describe the scene as the bees buzzed through the tall grass around the yellow flowers. While factually accurate, this low perplexity version strips the scene of its oppressive, heavy atmosphere. Nabokov's high perplexity choices force the reader to construct a new, specific mental image, mimicking the experiential lexical access that the research identifies as uniquely human.
I mean, isn't this great? This would have taken me a long time to research this and then provide an analysis of it. And of course, you want to double check to make sure it's not hallucinating, right? The nature of these large language models is they can and do hallucinate. By all means, go and do your research and look at the reference material, make sure that this is all true. And do your own thinking, right? We're not replacing our own thinking, but amazing work that this AI can do. This would have taken me a long time. So we're going to go ahead and skip around. Oh, there's Cormac McCarthy. There's another example. Let's go ahead and I'm going to just skip down to give you guys another example. So here's argument 2.
While perplexity analyzes the micro level of word choice, burstiness analyzes the macro level of sentence structure and document pacing. The research synthesis defines burstiness as the variation in sentence length, structure, and complexity across a text. Human writing is inherently bursty. It mirrors the natural rhythms of speech and thought, which are rarely uniform. Humans write in bursts and lulls, switching between long, labyrinthine sentences when carried by verbal momentum, and short, punchy statements when emphasizing a point. AI models constrained by attention mechanisms that distribute weight evenly and safety filters that discourage run-on sentences, tend to produce text with
All right, let's go ahead and get down to the examples of burstiness.
3.2 literary exemplars of burstiness. These authors demonstrate extreme variance in sentence structure, proving that flow is not about uniformity, but about the strategic management of rhythm. Exemplar 1, Ernest Hemingway. Author, Ernest Hemingway. Quote, he lay flat on the brown, pine-needled floor of the forest, his chin on his folded arms, and high overhead the wind blew in the tops of the pine trees. The mountainside sloped gently where he lay, but below it was steep, and he could see the dark of the oiled road winding through the pass. There was a stream alongside the road, and far down the pass he saw a mill, old wills and flumes and dropped water, source for whom the bell tolls. Hemingway is often caricatured as writing only in short sentences, but his actual technique involves sophisticated burstiness. This creates a panoramic sweeping effect, mimicking the wind in the trees. The burst comes at the very end with the fragment, old wills and flumes and dropped water. This shift from a standard grammatical sentence to a verbless list creates a lull that forces the reader to stop. The research notes that AI rarely uses fragments. By ending the paragraph with a static image rather than an action, Hemingway disrupts the narrative momentum, creating a specific visual imprint. An AI rewriting this would likely normalize the syntax. He saw old wills, flumes, and dropped water. This normalization destroys the burstiness, flattening the rhythm into a standard report of visual data. Hemingway's syntax controls the reader's breathing, a biological connection.
I'm going to go ahead and just pick out my favorites of these here, and then I'm going to rewrite this report, the original deep research report on humanizing AI writing, and interweave these quotes and why they fit for that particular argument or example. And then I'll take that report with these quotes interwoven in there as examples, and then I'll go through it, edit it, and then put my own philosophies, perspectives, and angles and spicy takes on it. And then I'll share that. So I'm sharing the process of co-writing with AI. And again, I would love to hear everyone's feedback on this, because I know not everybody agrees with it. Some people, whatever, there's a lot of different ideas out there, and I want to hear them. I want to bring this up to the surface. I think the gold is in the friction, and talking about this, arguing about it, and sharing ideas and best practices and opinions. So let's get after it. The next step for all of these reports that I wrote, I'm going to edit and going to make podcasts out of each of these here. So this one will be a podcast. This will be a podcast, and so will the chat. All of these will be their own podcast, or I could put them all together into one long podcast. Listen to it, go for a walk, and I will pick the best ones, put them into the report, and when I'm ready to share that report, I will share it with you. So I hope this was helpful. I am definitely learning a lot as I go, and just trying to share my learnings as I learn them and share my process. And I learned from so many other people that are sharing their processes online about using AI, building voice agents, and give me some feedback. How are you guys using AI? Are you guys writing with it? What other ways are you guys using AI out there? All right, so next time I talk to you guys, hopefully this will be done, and we'll be discussing the actual final product of this report. And maybe we'll even have a discussion with Broomhilda, my voice agent that is my critical thinking partner, who likes to roast me and give it to me with a no holds barred. So thanks for your time. I hope you guys learned something. Peace.